YouTube, it's Brad Phillips. We've got something new and super exciting for you. This is the E-flite 80mm EDF Thunderbirds with absolutely gorgeous configuration. Check this out. We did Telerons and we did Flapperons, which is pretty sweet, but we did give up an afterburner and we'll talk about it more in the unbox. But for now, we're gonna fly on 7006S all the way to the back. That's a 30C pack, should be okay with this one. That's the way we flew our last one, and we're gonna get set and come right back. All right, the throttle cuts off, takeoff flaps are dialed in, here we go. Oh, gorgeous, folks, gorgeous. Gear going up. Now, I don't have any delay on my flaps. So out of the flaps, should be pretty quick. A little bit of overcorrection on the As3x there. Okay, takeoff flaps coming in. Just want to see how this does. %, throttle out of the flaps. A little bit of overcorrection on the As3x again. This is a true Maiden. That thing rolls super fast. Look at this with Televons. Holy crap, that's way faster than I need. Okay, we just learned a lesson that took us a lot longer in real life, and that is you don't need Televons. So just do Flapperons and Ailerons, you'll be golden. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna come in. I'm gonna come in for a landing. Gear coming out, takeoff flaps. Landing flaps, just gonna relax. Visibility is rough right now. Got a little bit of wind from my back, which is perfect. Camera crew is gonna help me check for traffic issues if they exist. Full thrust reverse in pilot fatigue and out. Okay, so folks, whoops, tipped it over. All right, guys, so we just tipped over on a turnaround. We must have just caught it at a steep angle. These things do like to turn over. If you're running down the runway, make sure you get into pilot fatigue quick like this, and you can really slow that thing down quick. Now, a couple thoughts before we get too far ahead of ourselves. We have way too much correction on the roll axis, and we need a little bit more expo in all the axis. It looks absolutely fantastic, but the white disappeared today up against the cloud, something fierce. I was having a very hard time seeing it. And I hope you guys could see it for the video, but I can tell you this, even though it's a beautiful sunset, I don't trust myself and I don't trust my eyes. That thing was getting too hard to see from the distances I needed to be out for final. I went out as far as I could see. And as you could see, I brought it way past us for touchdown. So that's always a big drawback. So we're gonna taxi just a little bit more. We'll go ahead and show you the settings that we're gonna change, and then you guys can make up your own mind. Keep in mind, we factory reset our transmitter, or excuse me, reset our receiver. And so we did a couple of settings that you may not do, and I'll show you right now. Elevator, that's 150% up and down. Roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right, okay? That's more than you need by a long shot. That's more than you need by a long shot as prescribed by the manual. You can tell that. But you can also tell by how fast it rolls. Okay, look how much battery we have left. We could go up there and fly even longer. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at my dual rates. We were flying here. I could have clicked it down here, but I didn't need to, okay? I didn't have to land. I'm gonna put the roll expo up quite a bit. And then I'm just gonna double everything, okay? I'll run that down to 80, and then I'll run this. I'll still leave it at 100%, but that's quite a little bit of expo. I didn't feel like it was pitch sensitive. It was just more the correction on the actual As3x, which for that, we have to go into forward programming. Now, we did copy the rates on the gyro under As3x settings. And here's the gains that we copied out of the bind and fly. So Roll we want to bring down probably at least to 40, okay? I didn't feel like there was any other correction factor that was way out of line, but I also didn't fly it very long. Now, that being said, I want this thing to live a long, fruitful life. And that's part of the reason why, against my emotional needs to see this fly, I chose to do it, because look what we're landing up against. It's very hard to see up against that cloud cover. Now, if it was landing here, we'd be good. If it was landing here, same thing. It's very lulled. You know, it's dark, it's gray. It's a very different feel when you're coming in for a landing here or here. But then if you're coming in for a landing here, you'd be able to silhouette the plane. You'd be able to see your roll. Now, one thing that's bad about these LEDs is that they get blocked when you're in final, okay? Now, the front LEDs help, but they're so far inboard that you don't really get a picture of your pitch or your roll. They're so close together. Now, I don't want to diminish the fact that they're very bright. They work very good, and the landing gear light is very good too. But it's not enough when you're out maybe 2,000 feet on final. So lighting is critical when it comes time to land a fast jet. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this. We've got the E-flite 80mm F-16 Thunderbirds. We have set ours up with televons and flaperons. Amazing. But just wanted to show you one thing. You don't need televons, and we'll explain that later. But for now, we're gonna fly. We have a beautiful calm afternoon. It calmed down. It's all windy today. And so now we're ready to fly in the beautiful sun. All right, guys, throttle cuts off, takeoff flaps dialed in. Final checks, here we go. Beautiful. Out of flaps, out of gear. Relaxing my human body. Oh, so good, guys. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, you see how fast it turns with televons? That's why you don't need them. Okay, here you go. With throttle this time. Whoa, buddy. Too much aileron correction. You guys could definitely see that oscillation. That was a self-induced oscillation. Trying to get about 2 clicks of trim on my ailerons and 1 click of trim on my rev rudder. This is our second flight, but the first one calm. Here we go. Full speed pass and straight up, guys. Look at the ups. Okay, in the throttle still. Oh yeah, baby. Janking it. That's 50% stick input. Too much waggle. Got to get out of the throttle just to stop it. Oh, that looks so sweet. Man, you could turn this thing on a dime. Definitely needs time remaining 1 minute on 3. Okay, so full landing flaps just to see what they look like, folks. Gear coming out. Okay, out of both. You guys see the jank up? I'm sure you could. Just remembering to fly this into the takeoff flaps. Gliding along. Right over the camera crew and myself. Oh yeah! Okay, we're gonna come around here, camera crew. I am gonna have you kind of do your thing there. Okay. We'll try for a landing here. Okay, now we do not have safe. We just have As3x. Full landing flaps are deployed. We've got thrust reverse as well, and no afterburner hooked up. It does exist, it's just not in there, or it's just not on. Full thrust reverse. Wait until we stop into controllable. And then we're gonna go ahead and back it up just a hair. We're gonna try to stay on our side of the road, sort of, if you wanna call it that, just in case somebody pops up over the hill at like 100 miles an hour, which does happen once in a while. And we're gonna go ahead and back taxi toward us. What a sweet, delightful joy to fly this plane. Couple things to keep in mind: you do not need televons. There is way, way, way more roll authority than you would ever possibly need. And that's part of the reason why you're gonna set this thing up as a bind and fly basic, the way that it comes out of box. And you're gonna set up possibly flaperons for extra good for slowing down. You are absolutely going to set up thrust reverse. You need it. Throttle cuts on. Okay, so let's talk about a couple things. First of all, I'm 1 minute over my timer, and our voltages are at approximately, I would say, 3/5 left. So I'm gonna go into Expo and just show you what we set for that flight. We went up to 20 on all 3 axes, 10 on the low setting, 40 on the high setting for ailerons. Now elevator, it went just to 30, and then rudder, it just went to 30, and we ran those both in 20 and 10. So our median setting is 20, okay? And we're gonna start in that setting each time. And then differential, okay, so we needed to go to forward programming. Gyro settings, we had to make one adjustment on As3x last time. We're going to As3x gains, and we're going to change our roll down again quite a bit to 25, okay? Now we're going to see how much that works. It felt rock solid everywhere else. Okay, so we're down to 25, 50, 84, which is a lot on yaw. But that's just the way we kind of copied them, starting at 50, I believe is what it was. It was higher. I think it was
higher.
Yeah, we changed it on our real true Maiden, which is just a couple of passes. I think we have enough voltage to go ahead and do a quick go around, and we'll get one more landing in, hopefully, and then we can switch packs if necessary. 7000 6S, in case you're wondering. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and take off that way again, because that seemed to work pretty good. We had good visibility. See, over here, we're gonna hit the shadows, and the shadows will really make it hard to judge distance compared to the bright sun. Now, one thing I want to warn you about on this, wow, dang it, same thing as every other F-16 you've ever flown, she will tip like that, and it's really frustrating because it's hard to get it back over, even if you have thrust reverse. Try thrust reverse first and see if we can get it. Nope, I don't want to tempt fate. We'll just pause and flip it. All right, guys, so we got takeoff flaps deployed. Here goes nothing. Okay, that's full throttle. As we typically do, up and over, we're gonna relax just a little bit, get a couple clicks of trim on the elevator. We need to get a couple clicks of trim for roll. I don't know if you guys could tell when I was launching. Okay, here we go. We'll try for a pass here. Feels a lot better on the roll axis. A little spongy on the roll axis though. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's fighting me. See how it was starting to really go crazy on me? We're gonna try landing and adjusting that too. The gear coming out, you guys can't probably see it great, but just take my word for it, here it comes. Camera crew, are you good?
Good.
She getting squirrely as heck on the roll axis. That would be As3x lacking a little bit. Okay, out of the thrust reverse. Let her roll to an almost stop here. We're in controllable thrust reverse. We'll control thrust reverse. That felt way worse. I don't know about you, cam crew, but
yeah,
I was not enjoying that flight.
No.
She was acting squirrely as heck.
Yep.
Okay, so regular flight mode. Folks had to walk back up to the camera crew to greet her. So I felt like we just lost all of our roll tightness there. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna back taxi this sucker. Okay, we're out of flaps altogether. She looks absolutely gorgeous. I feel like we're not getting the best we can get out of this thing. And yes, she will tip on you if you're not careful, and because there's no missiles on there. The other F-16 Falcon that was in the Navy livery, it actually had missiles that extended quite a bit. Okay, so we're gonna flip over here. Those missiles prevented the plane from tipping quite so bad. Okay, perfect right there. We'll just go ahead and pause for a sec. Okay, so a couple things I need to talk about is particularly with As3x. I just feel like we just killed ourselves on that last move there. So the forward programming, we're gonna enter back into forward programming. We're definitely gonna turn the gyros back up. The gyro settings, As3x gains. And I felt like we were overcorrecting on pitch as well. So we're gonna go down to 60. We are gonna turn those back up. Let's go 32. It was at 30, it was at 40, and I went all the way down to 25. We're gonna go to the 32, so we'll split the difference. And then the yaw, I didn't really see a big problem on yaw. It was fine. And then also, I just felt like when I was giving my trim adjustments, when I took off, I rolled, and it wanted to roll this way. So I tried giving a couple clicks of rudder, and then a couple clicks of ailerons, and it just didn't really feel like it was correcting very well at all. And I think part of the problem is when you set this plane up as a televon configuration, you've got so much going on here. And then also, I don't know if you guys can tell, but my right wing has a little bit of a waggle that you'll see periodically. And I wonder if that was inducing some of my instability that I was experiencing, because I noticed that all through the time I was setting this up. I spent virtually all day. We reset we reset the receiver, which is now an 8360. And let's show you this real quick. The 8360 is an amazing receiver. I use some toothpicks just to hold everything down. 8360T, which means you do get the Vario if you want it. And there are enough channels to do the televons, but you lose the channel you would use for the afterburner, which I do have an afterburner on this, but I'm not using it right now because I have no channel to control it. And you're like, just tie it in with a Y cable like you would do any other afterburner. Well, you can't do that on these smart receiver configurations because the smart receiver and the smart ESC communicate through serial data transfer, and it screws up the way that ring works. So there's some mixing information that's included with the model, and we just had to forget about it because we had no channels left. I think at some point after this thing releases, we're gonna probably switch back to a single elevator instead of the televon configuration, because I also have my throws set way high. I love the throws high, but I just feel like there's just almost too much going on. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm also gonna change one more setting. I'm gonna go back into dual rates and expo, and I'm gonna leave my ailerons at 15, 10, and 40. I'll take that down to 30 in case I'm wrong, because that'll still be a big rate drop. And then the rest of them I'm gonna leave. I felt like elevator, I don't know, it felt fine actually. The elevator axis wasn't my problem, and the rudder axis was fine. But what I do want to do is I want to go to servo setup and change the travel on the right elevator to, like, let's just be pretty drastic about this. And this, I'm going to take it down 50%. And you're like, geez, Brian, you're not going to be able to do anything now. Well, that could be true. Let's check our throws. What we're going to do is we're just going to look for even deflection. If you guys see this, you see that? Now it's behaving well. I don't have any explanation for that. But again, it's just like one of those things that I have this one that product development was working on because it's an early release. And so I guess Horizon wants us to show it in all its true colors. So that's its true colors. Not really sure what the deal is. There was a couple extra wires that were hanging out the canopy that had me super concerned, and we had no way of communicating with anybody about it. So at this point, we just did the best we could. Now I'm gonna go ahead and look at the volts. We're at 3.76 volts, so we're just really riding the line on making a mistake. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause at this moment. That would be our first and second flights, our second and third flights. Last night we had basically one pass, two passes we landed. We couldn't get it. It just was not there. So I couldn't see because this thing disappeared into the clouds. It was very gray. So we're gonna grab a new 7000 and see how this thing flies now that I've made those adjustments. And by the way, at the end of the day, ordinarily we would make you go through and just kind of like watch those videos to see the little changes we made, but there's been quite a few changes on this one. So I would just say at the last flight, we're gonna make sure that you know what the last flight is, and that's what we're gonna set it to. And also the unbox build radio setup was clipped because I spent from like 3 p.m. till about midnight screwing with it. I built the model 4 times, the 4th of which was just a test to see if I could go back to flap runs. You'll notice that I have fast acting flaps and no elevator correction. I also don't have my C switch so that I have my elevator to aileron tie. That does not exist because I am currently set up as dual ailerons and televons. If you want to do it like I did or similar, so you do have the televons, I would highly recommend that you do televons and just treat the ailerons as flaps, period. Because you get tons of roll authority from the televons. Just set those things to flaps and leave them that way. Then you'll actually gain one more channel back that you can utilize. But I'm going to tell you in my experience, when I did dual ailerons, I could get all the surfaces to work, but I had to do some weird mixing just to take out this strange configuration. It looked something like this. It looked like this. Every time you would change the setting, it would do that. Okay, so it'd be like here, or it was like here, and I had to do weird mixing so that every time I made a change in state on the flaps, it would do that weird stuff. So I had to mix it out, and I will show you exactly how I did on this setup. So you may not like it. I don't particularly like it, and I think there might be something a little bit off on the firmware there. So it'd be really cool if we could get an answer from Horizon on exactly what to do and why we can't just go in and set up dual flaps or flaperons and televons. There's really, in my mind, there is no reason why that shouldn't work. You should be able to have As3x here, As3x and safe here, As3x and safe here as well. What we got was we got 3 surfaces that worked and 1 that totally sat still. So it was very, talk about take the wind out of your sails. So anyway, we did ultimately get what we wanted, which was the full functioning televons, and they do look sweet, but the thing is, at the end of the day, it's just a fast flying jet, and you don't want it to be wrong because when it's wrong, it flies like crap. And that's what we experienced on that last flight. It was very scary, felt out of control. The thrust reverse works like a charm. It is absolutely necessary. I'm surprised it doesn't come out of the box with that activated in the bind and fly. In my opinion, it should, because that is a must-have, at least in our application. Now, some of you guys are gonna be a little bit better. You see how much it's veering to the right? That's really frustrating when you're going to take off, because then when you hop in the air, it pretty much goes straight. Because remember, ours veered that way at takeoff. Very good ground handling the way it is right now, by the way. I was just gonna mention that. With that 150% throws, look how nice and sharp you can tie these turns. So also 7000 6S, they recommend 5000 6S. I've had good luck with the 7000 6S. And if you can land them as good as I'm landing them, and you can get the operations time that we're getting out of it, I would say that it's a very good size choice. It's very unusual for me to do a bigger battery than's necessary. I just don't like puffing my packs, and I've had really good luck not puffing packs on the 7000s. So we'll be right back with the new battery. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and take off clean, no flaps this time, full throttle. Oh yeah, see how much longer it takes without flaperons? Backing off the throttle a lot. It's a fast plane, takes a lot of juice to get up in the air. We're gonna probably go in and then S-curve right over. Oh, look at that bird. As you can see, it gets a little bit shallow on the top of that, but not now. Dang it. Oscillation, self-induced. 32 is still evidently a little bit too much. It does feel a lot better on the elevator. The sponginess on the controls is fixed with the 15 compared to what we were experiencing before, which was like crazy oscillation. Okay, so we're gonna slow it down. A little bit of takeoff flaps here. Okay, here we go. Full landing flaps. Oh yes. Full throttle out of the flaps. Jeez, the squirrel go across the road. Okay, so we're gonna use rudder to point that nose. And we're gonna bring it up here. We're gonna do a big, huge loop. Now you guys see me doing the loops on the way out of the throttle into the takeoff flaps. On my other plane, my other F-16, I feel like it's so much more controllable because of the one setting that I have in there, and that is that C switch I set up to mix the flaps with the elevator. This plane does not have flaps according to As3x. Oh yeah, into full throttle after passing. Guys love it. It wants to roll that way. I'm gonna go ahead and jank it back here. I don't want to get into a stall with this plane. I don't feel like it's gonna stall very good. Okay, just gliding by. Basically no input. Absolutely gorgeous. And then up. Gonna go over the cornfield, soybean field today. Definitely still have crazy ups. Love the top white light, looks amazing. Pulling hard on the G's with those televons. We're gonna do it again here. Pulling hard on the G's. That's like 80% input. Doing some upside down flight for you. Bringing it around, feels pretty rock solid. So the only thing we gotta fix here, sorry cam crew, I know I'm making you work hard on focus and stuff with that blue sky. Very quick response, over corrections, crazy on the As3x. Don't know how to calm it down. Full landing flaps kicking in. Let's see if we have enough televon left to do what we need to do here. Look at this beauty. Coming in here by the tree line. We're gonna just kick it down the runway. Okay, we're about 33% throttle, excuse me, 33% battery life left. I'd like to land that way, but I don't think I'm gonna. I'm gonna go the way I'm a little bit more used to, which is gonna be over here. It does kind of compromise you guys' view for just a quick sec. Okay, we're gonna go over the tree line, take off flaps. Okay, landing flaps. Just kind of slowing down. I'm way the heck up there though, and I'm kind of, there we go. I can see the belly of the plane better now, so I'm gonna go around again. Kind of taking it easy, I'm relaxing. Okay, got that rudder to help my nose come around. Got to take a really steep approach because that tall tree there. Okay, just relaxing into it. Gonna try to fly the plane, get into a point where I can see my attitude. That's important. Then I'm gonna flare a little bit, begin the flare, out of the throttle, into the throttle light, and full throttle, thrust reverse, baby, she's there. Wait for the stop, to controllable, and there we go, guys. Controllable thrust reverse now so we can back it off. We'll go ahead and try to keep it in this lane of traffic because we control it, sort of. Go real slow. We don't want gravity to take it down the hill like it's done in the past. And then we'll go ahead and kick into forward thrust. Really tight turn here. As you can see, that thing is an absolute beauty. I felt like we got that way better there, camera crew. What do you think?
Yeah, there was still a little bit
too much overcorrection on the As3x on the roll axis.
That was a good landing too, though.
Yeah, it was better. Felt good.
Yeah, looked good.
So one thing I can definitely say is I've seen some guys that have done some cool things to these F-16s and really gotten them to wake up a little bit more than I'm seeing. But to be perfectly frank with you, the way that I fly my F-16s, I fly them so that they look just like a real one as much as possible. I kind of hate doing some of the things that look, well, forgive the terminology, but fake. I want to be moving fairly quick. I'm not going to be able to get in there and do a high alpha with this because I just don't have the heart to destroy this plane yet. There are people that are going to do it. They're going to have success with it, and it's going to do it well because that wing will fly like that. It's going to do a high alpha. But my experience, and maybe it's just because I'm using the bigger pack, I just can't quite get the CG back far enough. And I also am very uncomfortable right now with the level of oscillation. So I think the only thing we can do, we've got about 33% left on battery. We probably have enough for one more go around. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back into forward programming, connect. And by the way, we did not have enough in Ford. We don't have enough channels on the NX8 to add master game, which I'd really like to do. We have plenty of switches. And then also to have As3x and safe on and off. Because really, to be frank, if there's a plane I want safe on, it's this. Because you get into certain angles, when you're a long ways out there, having safe, just knowing that the wings are level, is like, oh, I can't quite tell because it disappears. Now, once you get into a flare and you see the belly of the plane, it's blue. Easy to tell. But so just being able to see the angle, the belly is blue, it pops. Like as soon as you go from nothing to something, it's a huge relief as a pilot. And this could just come from getting a little older, maybe my eyesight's slipping a little. I could go back in and get my LASIK touched up. I don't know. I did just have a DOT test, and I noticed that one of my eyes was a little bit worse. Having depth perception and long range sight helps a lot with jets. If you don't have good long vision, you won't be able to fly these things because it disappears like crazy. So you gotta have pretty good eyes to be able to see, because when you get out there, that thing is a speck, and you need a long way to develop that landing, in my opinion. Okay, so As3x settings. We're gonna go back into As3x settings, and gain sensitivity is still 1 because we don't have adjustable rates. And this is what? 32. Okay, so I think I want to turn that. See, the problem is I almost feel like if I go to 30, it's going to be too spongy. But the other thing too is, check this out. If I really wanted to lock it in, I could flip my flight mode and then I could lock the yaw axis. And that would give me, like, even if you did like a 10% lock, what would happen is when you come in for your landing, you would lock that axis. So once you're lined up and you've got the gear down, then it just goes straight. And it's actually hard. You have to actually command it to come out of it. So it's pretty cool, but I don't know that I'm really willing to gamble on this one yet. But that's a flight mode 1. So I'm already in the flight mode I would need. You would set that up and then just test it on the ground, have somebody hold the plane for you and test. You can see what it does. We're gonna go ahead and take off one more time. I just don't know if that's enough. I feel like it's probably on the edge of not being enough. 32, it's still overreacted, didn't it? Mm-hmm. By the way, sometimes the Ford programming, when you're going in there, sometimes it connects right away, you have no problems. Other times it kind of gets a little wonky on you. Remember, you do have to be fairly close for that. Okay, As3x gains. I think 32 to 30 is just not enough. I feel like we're gonna have to go down lower. Let's just go to 28. So 28, 60, 84, okay? I feel like the other 3 axes are pretty good. I didn't have any problems. I am still nervous flying this plane, and I think I can get at least one more go around, so we're gonna do that right now. And by the way, the flaps make this thing roll so much better. Okay, buy the mailbox if you can. Okay, here we go. Fairly quick. We're gonna keep moving so we don't waste our inertia. See with those takeoff flaps, how much better it was out of flaps out of the gear. Just real light on the controls. Light on the throttle too. Okay, here we go. Right at us and up. Okay, that's a warning for critical. That's what I don't like hearing on this plane, because then I got to get it the first time, basically. Gear coming out. Okay, nice and level. Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Okay, nice flat turn. Gonna get the belly pointed at us just a hair. We're gonna get set into a very, very gentle flare. As soon as we can. We got to keep our speed up so we don't stall the aircraft. You good where you are? Mm-hmm. Okay. Full reverse thrust. Wait till it stops. Controllable reverse thrust. And I'm going to go into forward thrust. Guys, that looked really good. I don't know if you guys are enjoying watching it land. Some of you will probably think it's, woo! Don't you tip over on me, you little turd. I'm trying to just jank it around so I can do it within one lane. The crown on the road is definitely something to keep in mind if you do fly off of a country road. Kind of a little bit of a no-no, but I guess that's life in the big city. You've seen all the traffic we've had. That being said, guys, I love flying this plane, and it is the type of plane that I want to invest myself into. But a couple of thoughts about this plane is I just kind of do a little bit of taxiing and show off those telebonds that you don't have probably out of box, but you can totally do if you follow our instructions. I definitely have to say that felt better, but I didn't really get into a lot of aerobatics. I also feel like we could probably get away with another couple flights. So let's do that. Let's pause. We'll go get another battery and we'll come right back. Okay guys, so if you like this plane, the camera crew is concerned, I'm gonna run out of time. So I may let her win this battle, but for now, if you wanna help support our channel, first of all, check this thing out at www.brianphillipsrc.com. And you could go ahead and follow links, and sometimes there's coupon codes and things like this that actually are available, and we will share them there. But for now, if you know you're gonna buy this plane, just look in the video description below. We got a link for this exact plane. And if you like the Navy one, they still have those, I believe. And I actually really kind of prefer that look. The Thunderbolt, the Thunderbirds is amazing too. I love the way it looks. I love the fact that it comes with the AR6 8360T, and that is a T, not a TA. The other one is a 637 TA, which means you don't have the full suite. You don't have Vario, you don't have altitude. So there's definitely some big advantages on this plane, but you also don't get ordnance on this. And for a lot of you, you're gonna be like, I want the ordnance. So just think that through. These are the types of things that we're gonna point out. I'm sure Horizon would love us to just kind of like maybe miss that detail, but the truth is, you know, as things are getting more expensive, you guys have to be really smart with your RC dollars, and we're trying our best to help you with that. This plane is sweet. It flies, so far right now, I feel like it flies a little bit worse because I'm the one that set it up and I'm not doing the bind and fly basic. I know that we're gonna be able to get it better though. The other thing I know that I didn't have on the other one that I do now is I have 2 full discrete channels available that I didn't previously have. So that means having actually factory reset the radio, I can actually do all sorts of cool things. I just haven't figured out the exact golden bullet. Is that right? Golden bullet?
Golden ticket.
Golden ticket? The silver bullet.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, love the plane. It's beautiful. It's one of the hardest retracts to show. We're gonna show you real quick. Camera crew is gonna hold that. She's gonna toggle the switch when I tell her to. You know which one it is? All right, toggle the switch. Locking, full metal. Closing landing gear door, absolutely gorgeous. Our first victims of bugs. Okay, go ahead and open them. Check out the light. And then just so you know, all the springs really do work. Very good, and they are functional, and they do work, and they are necessary, and they help. So we're gonna hopefully get you guys some more footage. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Brian Phillips RC is here to support you in your RC addiction. And also, we are trying to get new addicts as we speak. So if you're not quite addicted yet, just wait longer, because we're gonna help you get addicted, and we're gonna help you go from nothing to where you wanna be. And you know, to be honest, this is probably one of the more challenging planes that we have reviewed, and I love flying it, but it also does stretch me into a place that's new for me and exciting, but also a little bit scary. So if you notice that I'm a little bit more timid flying this and planes like this, I am. So, you know, that's just the way it is. Everybody is working on this spectrum of skill within the RC arena. And especially when it comes to fixed wing, everybody has limits, and you don't want to step way past them, because you will lose your hard-earned money, you will crash, and there's a high probability of failure, and you will probably quit. If you start with this, you will fail. If you don't fail, you are in the extreme minority. I mean, extreme minority. But there are some people that are going to be able to pick this thing up, and they will be able to fly it on their 3rd or 4th plane, and they'll do well with it. And so I don't ever want to discourage anybody from trying what they think they can handle, but I do want to encourage you to make better choices, because what we end up with is a bunch of one and done pilots that have, you're going to have almost $1,000 in the air by the time you buy this and a battery and a charger, you know, a little bit more with the charger. And then you're going to have, you know, $500-600 here, and you kind of need the 10. So you're looking at close, by the time you're all done paying sales tax, shipping and stuff like that, if you don't buy it all at once, you may be talking close to $2,000. Those people will quit if they crash. So don't be one of those people. Be one of the people that start with something you can handle, enjoy, and believe me, you're gonna think, but I wanna fly the F-16, I don't wanna fly the Timber. Yes, you do. It is awesome, it is so much fun. You will love every step of the way, I guarantee you, because you will be scared to death when you throw that UMX Sports Cub, and you're gonna be like shaking at the knees, looking like a fool. It's gonna be wonderful for everybody watching. And it's just the way it is. And you're gonna be like, how do you do that? Trust me, the first time, and if you're just one of these keyboard warriors and you're like, whatever, it's not that hard. Okay, show me how easy it is. Because I guarantee you, if you think this is easy, you're a full-scale pilot, you think you can do this just because you fly it, you know, like a 737 with like hundreds of people on board, you know. Trust me, if you don't know how to fly RC, it's a different skill set, okay? My dad is a full-scale pilot. He can't fly this, and I hope he's watching that, because I would love it if he would learn to fly this. But the reality is, flying RC is hard, and this is a skill level 3, and they only have 3 levels. So, I don't know, I guess they're just like leaving room for improvement there, right? It does fly good. It is easy to fly in formation. I'd like to be able to get some more flights today if possible. I need more practice with it, but the thing is, these early releases put us up against the wire. So hopefully this video is good. You enjoyed it. Definitely smash the like button. Click the bell for notifications. Of course, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. I assume you already have. If you're even remotely interested in this content, we do better content too, by the way. Sometimes we have easier setup. We have better helpful information. When we're on the tip of the spear, sometimes it's a little bit less helpful because we're still learning a lot of it ourselves. So, love this. I can't wait till I can fly this thing around and not care and just be like, I know it's gonna do it. I know it's gonna do it. I know it's gonna do it. But I'm not there yet. It's brand new. I don't wanna destroy it. I love it. It's awesome. And yes, we do have a lot of planes, hundreds more. And I still want this thing to survive. So hopefully that wraps everything up in a nice ball of wax. Stay tuned. So much more coming from Brian Phillips RC. YouTube's Brian Phillips still. 7,000 6S, 5,000 6S, 100C. This is 30C, okay? This is what we started on. And what I want to do is I want to try to get 2 flights in if I can, but I don't think I'm going to get time. So I'm going to go ahead and plop this 5,000 in here and just see how light on its feet this plane is, okay? Because we don't know the exact CG, well, we kind of do. We just have been flying with the battery way back here. So I'm going to bring it, the bigger battery all the way back. I felt like we've been pretty good on CG, okay? Our back strap does not slip, which is super annoying, okay? But I just want to see if I can get this lighter on its feet and see if we can get it to fly a little bit better with this battery. And yes, the sun is setting. The camera crew has added all sorts of extra pressures to me as a pilot to make me worried. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to ignore those worries and fly, because flying is such a weird golf-like mental game. And when you do this for a while, it becomes a little bit easier, but it's still challenging. I'm going to wait for the ESC to chime. It didn't chime. Did you hear the last part?
I did.
You did?
Yep.
Okay, so it is working. So what I'm going to do is I'll just flip this up. I did mark the CG, and I want to see where it actually is. Okay, so it's here. Really hard to see because the gear door down. Oh yeah, we're going to be good. We'll be fine. Okay, so ordinarily, we're going to pause now, and I'll run into position. All right, guys, so takeoff flaps deployed. 5,000. 6S, 100C. Rolls really early. Great, great. Feels a lot lighter on its feet. Horizon was recommending 5,000. Here we go. Absolutely gorgeous. Slight overcorrection on As3x. Nothing crazy. I want to try doing something crazy here. Jank it. Yes. Jank it around. Bring it down, get it flying. And there you have it, folks. Cornhole. Doesn't cornhole very well. Okay, here we go. You good, camera crew? Mm-hmm. You can see? Mm-hmm. Okay. See that oscillation? That's a self-induced oscillation at 28%. Okay, janking it here. Oh, so cool. Mixing a little bit of rudder in that time. I just want to feel this plane. I want to feel it in my blood. Okay, takeoff flaps down now. Let's see how it responds on a pass. Okay, here we go. Janking it. So sweet. Okay, around the tree line and then up and over in a little bit of a roll out of the flaps as we do it. So cool, guys. Big loop, a little bit of rudder to the left to straighten it out. Rolling out of it and then back down. Oh, that tail light helped so much in that move. Just trying to get in line with the runway. Man, she's kicking along now. 100C pack has really kicked this thing up. See that overcorrection? That's a bummer. See the overcorrection, guys? Okay, so what I wanna do now is I wanna try like kind of a dirty landing attempt. I'm gonna try doing it a little bit different. Camera crew, you good?
Okay.
I'm gonna fly it like I mean it. I'm just flying it, okay? Gear coming down right now. Oh yeah, I can see my lights better now with that backdrop being so light. Hey, protect yourself there. I'm not landing, I just wanna see it. Okay, out of the flaps, out of the gear. That felt really good. Lots of throttle to get me out of the hole. We're gonna be running low on battery here, so I'm gonna go ahead and get back up. Okay, so well, that was not good. Okay, gear coming out. Looking at my lights. Looking for the visible cues that I can't see very good. Getting hard in the throttle there. Okay, full landing flaps here. Okay, camera crew, how we doing?
By the mailbox, you're clear.
Okay. You see that how it like keeps rolling on me? That's not so good. Just be safe, okay?
Yep.
Relax, Brian, relax. That is not me, by the way. Full thrust reverse. Something was locked. Something was locked. Okay, out of thrust reverse. Did you see what I was talking about?
Yeah.
Notice how I was fighting it all the way through about, 3/4 of the flight through. Don't know what it was, but we're gonna see if we can figure out here. Okay, pretty steep there on the ditch, so I'm just trying to be a little bit careful on my turnaround. Okay, so as you can see, the plane's in one piece. We got it back down to the ground. Okay, we're gonna back taxi it pretty quick because it back taxis at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then we're gonna thrust reverse pilot fatigue style. If you guys don't know what pilot fatigue style is, or pilot fatigue, it's just basically when I pull this all the way back, it goes full throttle in the reverse configuration, which is pretty sweet. Okay, cool. So, couple things to think about. The plane is flying really nice, but there's definitely a little something not quite right there. And I can't explain it, guys. I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that this, well, that might have something to do with it, guys. Okay, so you see this? Show the people.
Yeah.
There is no aileron response. So guys, look at that. Well,
That answers that question.
that answers my question because I said that thing is rolling. It's rolling.
was.
It's rolling. It's rolling. And I couldn't figure out what the heck I was doing wrong. That thing is still stopped. So, proves my point. When you're flying an airplane, it helps to get practice. That's terrible. It's getting fixed. All right, guys, stay tuned. So much more to come from Brian Phillips RC.
Go.
Okay, so my wonderful camera crew was we were walking up the hill. We were done with this video. I said a few bad words, and then I came back and I was like, well, thank God I got that thing to the ground. And she's like, thank God you had telebonds. See, this is who I married. It's awesome. See, look at this. If I wouldn't have had telebonds, you guys want to know how that landing would have gone? It would have gone more like this. Boom! Boom! So anyway, I just wanted to bring that point up. It's very critical that if you have an opportunity to have redundant surfaces, this is what I would have had, and that's what I would have had. This plane would not have had any roll authority whatsoever.
Because you had your flaps on, right?
You want to know what I would have had? I would have had the ability to roll and then stop. And then roll. Well, that's not true. I still had one aileron. I still technically had one aileron. But it would have been so mutated.
Right.
Because look at that. That's all I had.
Yeah.
So look, I would have been able to continue rolling or arrest the roll. And I wouldn't have had time to figure that out, I don't think.
No.
Maybe I got lucky. But anyway, guys, the telebonds literally saved this plane today.
It did.
Sure. So good job, telebonds. You were worth the extra 7 hours I did programming you, even though it didn't quite work exactly right. And it was a huge pain in the neck. So anyway, guys, I wanted to get you guys another flight, but I guess you get what you get, just like we do. Let's just, let's close this with the pilot fatigue. Yeah! Controllable. Oh, yeah! Okay, so we have the Servo XBC battery checker hooked up to Smart Pack. Doesn't really have to be a Smart Pack, but we are in the Servo Test mode. Okay, so I'll just actually show you that from scratch. If you guys don't know how to do that, you plug in the battery. It comes up. This is one of the tools you should definitely have in your tool bag. It doesn't even have to be fully charged. Then you go to Servo Test and you start it. I've got an extension cord so we can plug into this wing. This is the wing that was in question. I'm just gonna demonstrate here. If I plug it back in and it goes back, then that's gonna be the worst possible case. See, it's not working, okay? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to distinguish between a bad servo and something else, okay? It could be a million other things, but the servo is the first thing. Now, because it's really hard to tell what the actual connection direction is, I just kind of have to pull that off. And then you have to just kind of feel it. The good news is if you plug it in backward, generally you won't damage things. Of course, this would happen to be like a keyed weird plug. Okay, so it's on. You can tell by that being live. And then there is no movement, okay? So we have some sort of a servo failure, I would have to assume based on that. Now let's just, for grins, let's try doing it backwards, see if anything happens. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so my apologies, I had that backward. Okay, so as you can see, the servo is moving, and it's moving exactly as prescribed here, okay? So now another thing you can do is you can look at this and it says 68 milliamps. So this is something you have to do a little bit of caution with. Okay, I'm gonna hold this to resist the movement. See that? That's tough on your servos. See how it overloads and it goes past? You see the current? You can actually build up the current and see if the thing is going to freak out. Okay, see how it locked? Now, I'm gonna lock it in home position. See that? I'm gonna de-energize it. I'm gonna go back to power because I wanna make sure this thing, see, nothing. It's just acting, it's totally janked up now. Okay, unless I might have unplugged. See, nothing now. So as you can see, there's definitely a little something going on with the servo. I'm gonna try a third time and see if I can wake this up by moving it through its parameters, through its range, and see if the feedback pot starts working. I would say that in this condition, something is not happy, okay? So that's an important test. Now the other test you can do is you can plug in just any old servo to this port on the side of the plane, and then you can move the sticks and see if it moves. So that's the next test I'll do. All right, so we just got any old servo, just to kind of show you how this works, guys. See, I've got the same extension cord. I'm trying to demonstrate the details here. So as you can see, the milliamp hours is there. It's unloaded because there's nothing hooked to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna simulate a light load. I'm looking at the milliamp hours. I don't wanna like go nuts on it. But the thing is, you see, I can get that up to like 300 milliamp hours and no problems. It just keeps going like a champ, right? Okay? This is just a 9-gram plastic gear servo. It's the run of the mill. It's some generic cheap brand, okay? But you can see how much pressure I'm getting out of there. Okay? So all I'm doing is I'm just loading the servo, right? When you're flying at like 100 miles an hour and you move that servo, you're gonna load the control surface more than if it was just on the ground and moving up and down. So earlier, the camera crew had asked a question off camera. She's like, did you just break it there? And I'm like, no, I didn't break it. I just tried to load it a little bit, okay? So if this thing can't handle that little bit of load, then the servo is more than likely bad, okay? So we're just going through the same sweep and we see no behavior, but we see the lights on. Just for grins, we'll go backward. See the sweep, nothing happens. Okay, because polarity is a little bit ambiguous on this. Okay, so what do we know? Also, same thing here. We're gonna go black to black because we can see on this one. And we go right back to the sweep, okay? And then we go right back to the test just to demonstrate that we're doing a good test. Got good, I got it as high as like, 300 and some odd milliamp hours. Now, it will sometimes skip a beat and come right back, but that's okay. All right, so now the next test I wanna do is now that we've established that this servo is working, is we're gonna try to plug this sucker in, okay? And then we're gonna move, okay? Okay. Now we're gonna try to plug that in. Okay, so we obviously had that backward. Polarity is ambiguous, guys. Okay, flaps. Okay, we'll try it this way. I'm pushing my finger pad into the servo body. I'm loading the circuit more. And you can also see your milliamp hour draw. I can't remember exactly. I mean, you may not be able to see it quite that good. No, not there. Let me see if I can find it. No, you're not gonna be able to see it there. Yeah, but I mean, you can see if you're really loading it crazy, you'd have a problem. But as you can see, we have good signal here. We don't have any chatter. We don't have any jumping around. And then basically, as we can see, it looks like what we have is just a standard basic servo that had some sort of an issue in it. So now that that has been identified, all we would have to do, I mean, I could literally go downstairs and get this wing off of my other plane and slide it in there and actually do a full check because it's gonna be exactly the same size. So let's go ahead and pop open the cover and verify there's not something else super simple that we can continue onward. Now here on Brian Phillips RC, we don't just show you how to crash them, we show you how to fix them if possible. So we got a couple of, one of the things I really appreciate about this plane and a couple of the recent planes we've been getting is that there's so much more serviceability built into these things than they ever gave us years ago. You used to have to tear up a wing something fierce to be able to get to it. Now granted, this only has one servo. Okay, so we're gonna keep this in position because I don't wanna figure out how to put that, okay? We're gonna lay this down just exactly as it is. And we're gonna look at this and we're gonna say, is there anything weird about that? I don't see anything kind of strange going on, okay? And then what I need to do is unscrew this here. Okay, so this is just this is gonna hold on to the end there. Okay, so we're just gonna watch that camera crew in case it pops off. It's because I do not want it to go in there, so I'll hold my finger over the hole. Okay, so these two screws, serviceability is huge, guys. We have not always had access to serviceability, that's for sure. Oh, cool, look at that. Okay, so we'll just pull this out. Feels like we've got one wire that goes to the LED, and then one wire that goes to the servo. And if you kind of look close, you can tell that they are wired together. Ugh, what a pain. Okay, so if you were to replace the servo, then you would have to actually go in there and crimp those back together. Ugh, I don't like that at all. Also, it makes me wonder if, let's go ahead and do one more test here. I'm gonna lay this down, so if you can give me just a little bit of space for that. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this back in, the extension cord. And the extension cord is gonna go in here. Actually, I don't technically need the extension cord for this. I'm just gonna see if I can plug it in. Now we know the brown is that way. I think I can get purchase. Yeah, okay. So you see what's happening there? See that? You see what just happened? So you wanna know where the failure is, folks.
So it's somewhere in that connector or
it's
that
somewhere
wire?
in the connection, I think. You see that? It's every time I make or break connection here, the LED stays lit. You see that? Okay, so I've now unplugged it just so we can get a little bit more bite on that range so we can see where the vulnerability is. Because guys, it's always good. You know, this is one thing that I like to do. And I know you guys are probably a lot like me. If you're watching this channel, you're into understanding what went wrong, how to fix it, how to avoid it in the future. Okay, see that? See that? See that? We're either breaking power or we're breaking signal or we're breaking ground. One of the three. So we haven't actually established where the failure is. I'm gonna grab an X-Acto knife and I'll show you exactly how to do that, okay? This is really digging into the weeds. This is what we do here on the channel, folks. So if you're interested in learning more about how to do basic troubleshooting, we do actually kind of a lot of it on this channel. Now, troubleshooting is always in response to problems. So it's a bummer when we have problems, but it's a way bigger bummer if you have problems and you don't know how to fix them, okay? So I've got a garbage can in front of me. I'm just making some room, okay? So as you can see, there's certain areas, and I'm just trying to determine, is it up there or is it back here? Because if it's up there, I may not be able to necessarily fix it as easy, but if it's back here, I may be able to. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull these wires apart and I'm gonna try to isolate all three. Now, I'm trying to do it without moving up here because it feels like when I move up here, it definitely gets janked. Okay, and that would be, see that? See that? Watch this. I'm trying to figure out if it's like when I yank on it here, like they pinched it when they put this piece in, into the wing structure, or what exactly, where the failure was. Now, can we take any more of this apart without digging in? I don't know if we can. Oh, there's a little extension cord there, look. Look at that. There's an extension cord right there. See that? And I just broke contact, and I'm trying to get it out, if I can get it out. I don't know for sure if I can. But you see what I'm talking about? Looks like the back side of the connection there.
Is it possible that that is?
That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. That's what I'm struggling to get access to. Because once I get access to that, then I can answer my question. Because I would have to assume that's where this plugs in. It's got a short servo extension cord. And so I'm gonna actually, I don't know if I wanna take that off because it's protecting the wing. It's just real tight, and I am having to really pull nasty on those wires. I don't like that. But see, now look, now that we're working, now I can load it. Look at that, oh, I got 600 milliamp hours for a short run of it. 300, 400, 600, you see it didn't stop.
Right.
I didn't overload it. What happened was the cable got relaxed into the same position where it broke contact. So all I'm doing here is just trying to get around this corner here. This corner is fighting me right here, okay? So there's a trick to getting it out. I just don't know what that trick is, so I'm gonna probably figure it out in doing this. But I am gonna get it out because I will be victorious. And if that means I gotta trim some things, then I'll trim some things, which I think I'm gonna probably have to trim some things. Because this is not necessary here. Like, this is what holds it, okay? You just need an opening to pass through. So I'm gonna take very carefully my X-Acto knife, and the camera crew and I are gonna very carefully take these screws before we knock them halfway across the planet. We're gonna put them over here. And then those other two screws, which are right here, camera crew, you see what I'm doing? Okay, so they're hiding under there, just so you know. Okay, so I'm gonna take this X-Acto knife and I'm gonna just trim right here toward myself in a careful way. I'm gonna just cut that sharp part off. I'm pointing the point into the connector so that I don't actually cut anything. Okay, that fell in. I was hoping that would fall out. I'm gonna try to make it fall out. Doesn't look like it fell out. Okay, well, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Okay, now I'm gonna try doing the same thing on the other side if necessary. See what I'm doing here, guys? I'm just doing it as careful as possible because I know how vulnerable those connections are. See how it's coming undone? Could be just right there. It was on the outside that time. Okay, pushing that down. I'm gonna push that back into the opening so I can get a little bit of real estate. Now this is gonna be a tough cut because look what I have to do. I have to protect those wires from my cutting apparatus. I'm gonna just stuff this in there. Boy, it's pissed off about that. But I'm gonna do the same thing I did to the other side. All I'm doing, oh, yep, that's all I needed. Just a little corner. You see how I cut the corner off, guys? That's all. So that should give me enough room to get this connector out. Oh gosh, if I could have got the whole thing I wanted, it would have been better, which is, I'm gonna have to go back in and do more. That's what the surgeon said. Okay, so I'm gonna go really careful. You may be able to get a better shot from the other side on this part. Because you see how I've protected the depth cut with my middle, or my ring finger? See how my ring finger is lined up on the blade? I'm pressing against my nail, and I'm using the pad of my finger to control the blade. So now I'm pressing hard against the backside so that it won't slip on me, it won't cut me. Okay, and I'm just going forward, but I've only got about 1 millimeter exposed, so I can only cut that little bit, and that's all I'm trying to cut. So now I'm gonna take this and pry this up. Okay, pry it up just like that. Okay, now I can see in there a lot better. And by the way, when I put this back together, it should be no problem. It'll go right back in and it'll still be braced in the same spots it was before. But you can definitely tell there's something about the way this thing is plugged in here. And I just cannot get the stupid thing out. It's really frustrating. Okay, time to do a little more surgical advancement. Okay, so we're gonna go a little deeper. Now I would unscrew this in a heartbeat, but I don't believe there's any way to unscrew it. It's an unglue sort of thing. So once I do this, I don't want to go so much that I lose my backing and then this is allowed to wobble, because that would be bad too. Ooh, I feel like maybe. Nope. Gotta go a little deeper. Sometimes you gotta get penetrated a little better. Okay, so now I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna kind of go straight down. I'm gonna do that same depth guard with my ring finger like this, because then I can't cut those wires down below. being real careful. You gotta be super careful with these airplanes because some areas of these airplanes are extremely vulnerable and your hands are vulnerable, so be careful. Kids, if you're following along, don't do this without your parents' permission because it could be dangerous. I don't want you to cut yourself. Okay, the LED's wanting to flicker on and off because it's coming undone here, just to be clear.
Can you rotate that at all within that cavity?
That's what I was trying to do a little bit, but I feel like there's not enough room, but you know what? There's no reason it has to be that tight because this thing would hold even if that whole thing was opened. It's just that there's a lot of plastic here.
Yeah.
There's really no excuse for having that so difficult to get to because like why, I'm not gonna unglue this thing unless I absolutely have to because to unglue that, it's gonna compromise a lot of other stuff. So I'm gonna cut up a little bit. And this one's gonna be a little bit more of a structural move. I don't like cutting stuff away that can create some structural strength, but you can have to go to the other side. You're blocking my light when you do that. Thank you. That's much better. But see now, I don't have to protect against overcut as much. So I'm kind of turning the blade as I go. Just basically making a round opening. Try not to make a bunch of sharp edges. It's probably gonna fall back in. I'm prepared for it, yep. Now I'm gonna just carefully flip this over so that it falls out of the patient. Oh, of course, and it doesn't. Son of a biscuit. Okay. Oh yes, I got both of the plastic chunks out too. Awesome, okay. Okay, so there's our LEDs. What the frick? Why does the LEDs making that happen? Okay, let's put this on, protect that, okay? Let's put this here. Call me crazy, but, oh. I thought that was more or less causing that. LEDs off, right? LEDs on.
Yep.
You know what's so weird about that is when I hooked up this servo backward, that still worked. I wonder how that can be. Well, we'll come back to that some other time. Okay, so there. Oh, look. It's a boy. It's definitely freaking out on me. See that? Definitely freaking out.
Is that whole length?
Yeah, it might be real short. Oh man, I don't want to lose that because then I have to dig in and do surgery, further surgery. I think it's just plugged in poorly. And there was no teeth to hold on to it. Okay, so what I need now is my forceps. So I'm gonna grab forceps and we'll be right back. Okay guys, so what we have established now is that this is mostly unplugged. I don't know if you can give them a shot in there where they can see where the connector goes in to the actual Y cable here, okay? So I'm gonna try to get in here and brace it if I can. These forceps just barely fit. I think I'm gonna try to push up against the foam if possible. See, now I've pressed it in tight, okay? So now the wire is plugged in, okay? So this aileron is plugged in now, tight. So if that's all it was, and that's all that caused that, remember how I was talking earlier about how small things can lead to big accidents? It could be, you know, a delamination of a sticker, or it could be a plug that's 1/8 of a millimeter from being totally seated. That is vulnerability, guys. Okay, so look at this. Now I'm gonna load this circuit. I'm gonna intentionally basically try to break this servo. So you see that milliamp hours there? That's a live milliamp hour reading. 600 comes right alive. Look, I'm gonna let it lift the entire wing. It's getting a little bit pissed about that because that's a lot of weight, okay? It's like about 300 to 400 milliamp hours and it's still moving, okay? About 308, 402. Definitely bogs it down. Okay, so now let's try this again. I'm gonna hold it in the middle and I'm just gonna load it a little bit more. Ah, see? It comes right back to it though. Now keep in mind, that does have something to do with the BEC voltage that's being generated here, and we are on a low battery. But this low battery is still much greater than the 5 volts or so that we would need to minimum to run this. Now this is gonna run on a higher voltage, so it's gonna be a little bit faster on this plane because the higher voltage does make the DC motor move a little bit quicker. Okay, so just to also talk about this for a minute, that is an that is an A330, which I believe is a plastic gear servo. I can't read it totally though. I'm gonna see if I can pull it out. I'm gonna go to the center. I'm gonna try to pull this up. Because while we're here, we might as well see if we can get it out, look at it. Goodness gracious, yeah, it does, okay. So what do we have? That's a sub-micro metal gear digital. Okay, so we do have a metal gear servo. That's a good sign. Thank you, Horizon. I was very nervous there for a minute. Now feel this with your finger. Does that feel cold?
No.
Okay. It feels not hot.
It's not hot.
And I've been overloading it on purpose. I think the problem was the wire was disconnected here because it hasn't even so much as chirped since we did this.
So, and if it was a little bit disconnected when we got it,
it would stay disconnected,
and it would
potentially work itself off. And to be honest with you, there's probably not enough room in this cavity for the kind with teeth because it's tight with that. So if you run into that situation, guys, I'm going to tell you something today that right at the beginning of this video, I said you don't need televons. Maybe you do. But there again, if you catch it in time, if you're running flapper-ons, you should still have access to shutting them off. It's just that you're gonna have to be Johnny on the spot on that. So if you see that your aileron servo is jumping, I'm gonna put it back into the test mode here. This sequence is nice because I can verify that I'm not gonna like push it into some weird configuration where it's gonna like lose or make break contact. Not a big fan of this opening. This opening is way tighter than I think it should be. They should have foam removed a little bit deeper so that this is not a tough thing to do.
Right.
Hold on. Ooh, look at that. Oh, wait. We were loose on this connection again, guys. So sorry, every time I see something weird, I just respond to it now. Okay, so now I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna hold this tight so I know for sure it's tight. And I'm gonna just wiggle the crap out of this.
Do you need to put a piece of tape or some glue or something
I don't think I can pull it out far enough to glue it.
Oh.
So I would have to take apart this whole assembly, and I was like, I'm gonna kick myself if I ever have a problem with the servo again. But to be frank, I don't think we will because there's nowhere for it to go now.
Right, if it's actually plugged in.
And that's probably the rationalization from Horizon and the PD guys, and you know, I mean, it's probably a fair rationalization. There's nowhere for it to go except unplugged. So kind of a big deal, but hey, we fixed it. And to be honest with you, it wasn't even a bad servo. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna reverse engineer this as quick as possible, because sometimes when you go through the process of finding and resolving a problem, you end up coming out a better technical pilot. You come out being a better technical person, a better builder, better RC model troubleshooter, and also, just a little bit more skilled. So it's good that you guys can go through this. It's a little bit annoying that it has to be done on a new plane, but there again, they might have flown this thing 200 times. I don't know. They might have flown it once. They might have taken it out and looked at that problem and then never actually slapped it quite back together and didn't realize that, and there was no way for them to communicate it to us. Or maybe they put that in there just to see if we would catch it and if I'd crash the plane. I don't know. I kind of hope that's not what I'm gonna have some special words for them. But at the end of the day, I'm just gonna say this. I'm very happy that that's all it was, because that's a pretty honest mistake. If it was a bad servo, I'd be really disappointed. But to be honest, it wasn't a bad servo. And I'm glad we dug into this, and I'm glad my camera crew caught the fact that the televons were probably what saved the plane. And that's totally true, because I was kind of poo-pooing them earlier, and I'm kind of assuming the PD guys wanted the product development guys were wanting to see televons, or they wouldn't have been testing it. And they probably came to the same conclusions I did, which was, that's a lot of work. It's not worth it. Let's just put back in the bind and fly basic profile into the receiver. And I just didn't understand that they had already put that back in there. So a little bit of communication would have gone a long ways on that. But there again, when you do these early releases, they've got their hands like really full. So I'm sure they probably got a million things going on. But anyway, all I gotta say is we love this plane and it's worth a little bit of effort. So I'm glad that we resolved that problem. And believe me, it was chirping all over the place before. Remember, it was off for like half of this little repair video. But you should definitely, I'm not saying that this is gonna be true on all your planes, by the way. So this isn't like a PSA, like go out and check your servos. Check your servos, save the forest. No, it's not like that. That's not what I mean to say. And I don't want you guys to hear this wrong. I want you to understand that there is a probability with such a complex flying machine. Oh crap, which way does this go? It says V2 on the connector. I'm gonna unplug this so it'll shut off. As soon as we get this tightened in, then we'll go ahead and put it back on the plane. We'll do a little bit more testing. But there is a high probability with so much complexity that like something small could be wrong on any plane. And that's true for Free Wing, that's true for FMS, that's true for E-flite, that's true for, you know, Horizon Hobby, Arrows, Banggood products. It's very true.
It's really true if it's
and to be perfectly frank, like I said, this is just one of those types of things that I would rather just fix it myself because I hate waiting on other people to fix things. And I'm sure they'd probably have been like, no, we're sending a new wing. They probably would refuse it. They'd be like, no, we're not sending a servo, we'll send a new wing. Because we want to get it done right. And that is one thing that's really nice about the modular design on this plane is that you can actually just get a whole wing. I don't even know if they sell it with the servos in there, but either way, that'd be a real pain in the neck to put that in. Okay, so real quick, we will plug this in just to see what happens. Okay, and it looks like the negative is forward. Okay, so we're back to testing. Everything seems to be working good. We're not getting a bunch of intermittent. We're gonna load it heavily. About 600 amps, 600 milliamp hours, so like 0.6 amps, a lot of current, guys. And it didn't burn anything out, so I'm confident with that. Now we can just slide this back in here. So I don't know if this type of thing is helpful to you guys. We want you to know that we're here to help you make the most of your RC experience on Brian Phillips RC. We may have noticed it, or we may have mentioned it like 6 or 7 other times in this video, but at the end of the day, we do this for you guys because we were you guys and we still are you guys. We love doing hobby stuff. We love reviewing these planes. We love to be a part of the experience, and we love that the manufacturers trust us enough to bring you guys good content where we're not gonna just like bash them over the head every time they make a mistake or they have a mistake that happens because of one of the employees that they've hired to do something. Stuff like this happens. You gotta be prepared to deal with it. It's frustrating when it does happen. I'm just really glad that we got it resolved. I'm gonna go ahead and close the gear. It's a lot of cash tied up in this plane for the end user. What a beautiful set of landing gear. Absolutely gorgeous. The reason I did that, it's a lot harder to get to the screw with the gear down. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the full suite of tests. We'll just leave the plane upside down. It's easy enough to see. We've got roll left, roll right, okay? Elevator up, elevator down. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps, gear, while moving, flaps are off, flaps are on, flaps are on. We did all 3 settings all the way through. Now, the reason I do this is because that loads the BEC heavy, because that is a lot of work. The most power consuming thing that you're gonna have on this plane is running the retracts to open and close. So second, of course, to the EDF, of course, but EDF gets its own power source. So, I mean, not power source, but it's got its own power control unit through the electronic speed control. But the BEC runs lights, receiver, aileron servos, televon servos, steerable nose gear, all that stuff. So I'm gonna do this again. This is gonna be like the really, really tough man. Oh, by the way, if you ever have, I just noticed that. I don't know why I just noticed that, but my throttle cut servo's tight, or needs to be tightened. There's a special tool you can buy that will help you tighten that, but I've noticed, if you ever notice, especially your throttle hold screw is loose, get that sucker fixed. Throttle hold is a big safety feature, and you want to definitely check on that immediately if you ever see that. And so you can either buy the tool or you could do something like this, and it's very difficult to do it without a second set of hands, but you see all I'm doing is just walking it around in a circle, and all you have to do is just do this. Now these things do come loose from time to time. Okay, see how it's tight? And I can't move it anymore? Sometimes you can actually get in there and pry with the actual switch. But I feel like that's pretty good. And if you ever want to reposition the angle that the switch flips, if you want it to flip like a little bit more like this or a little bit more like that, you can do that too. You can loosen that and then adjust.
I'm getting low.
Huh?
I'm getting low.
Oh, getting low on power? Okay, all right, so one last test. I'm going the full shebang here. Okay, we're gonna run everything We're going crazy. We're going through the full flaps, no flaps, takeoff flaps, landing flaps, and then gear closed, gear open. Remember, this battery is only at 3.7, so this would be like worst case scenario landing with a lot of heavy wind. I think we're golden. That thing hasn't chirped since. I wish I would have caught that when I was working on it for like 6 hours. And for the record, I did take the wing off. I did inspect the wiring between here, but I didn't check past that connection point.
Right.
So there you have it, guys. Without further ado, the amazing F-16 Thunderbirds 80 millimeter, run on 6S. And we ran it on 5,100C for the last flight, where we had only one aileron deployed for full landing flaps. That was scary. Got it to the ground, got it fixed, found the problem, identified it, fixed it, and shared it with you. So hopefully you guys will give us a thumbs up for this, because at the end of the day, we kind of answer to you, and then YouTube rates us based on how you reply, if you liked it or not. And so if you can help us, even if it's a little bit long-winded for you, or maybe it wasn't your favorite plane, or maybe you didn't like the delivery as much as you could, or you just like hate our channel in general, just click that like button. It'll help us out a lot, and we'd sure appreciate it, and the family would appreciate it. And yeah, so that's all we're asking. Just click the like button. Then buy these things when you decide, when you inevitably decide to bite the bullet and order this thing, because it is amazing. Buy it from our links. You'll help support us financially. It really does help. It adds up. A lot of sales means we get a little bit of commission, which is nice. So we'd really appreciate it if you guys would do that. That's how we bring you all these free videos. That's the way some of our competitors like to call them, like the free videos on YouTube. It's like, it's only as free as you guys watch the ads. So, but it's maybe free to you unless you pay for YouTube Red, and then it's not free. But so, anyway, it's a stupid way of putting it. But the free content we put out on YouTube is here for you to learn, explore the hobby, and get you back into the hobby, and maybe get you into the hobby for the first time. But at the end of the day, we want you guys to have the best possible RC experience you can have, and we're here for you. So check the links in the video description below. Also check out BrianPhillipsRC.com, www.brianphillipsrc.com, and that is the same name exactly as what you find on YouTube. So also, by the way, we never use Telegram. We've never even heard of it until these scammers started doing it. It's not just us. Everybody on YouTube is getting hit by this stupid thing. People will hit you up with like messages and stuff, and they'll be like, yeah, send me money on Telegram for that giveaway. We don't do giveaways, no. Okay? So don't worry about it. And if we do a giveaway and I'm talking about it on a text message, make sure I say it in a video. If I don't say it in a video, it didn't happen. Don't give anybody your money. Don't be stupid. Don't get fooled by these idiots out here. Don't give them money. You're just gonna feed the fire of scams, okay? I don't even know what Telegram is. So we're doing our best to catch them when we see them. It's only happened to us, like 5 or 6 times. So it's not like a huge issue here, but the epidemic is definitely real. And there's a lot of people out there that just assume they're just preying on people that are maybe new to the internet or whatever, and easy to fool. Don't be fooled. We don't ask you for money on Telegram. You guys don't pay us for what we do here. If you want to support us with money, the only ways that we've ever done it are through PayPal and Patreon, which are down below, and then buying the equipment, okay?
Through our links in the description.
The links. If you don't follow the link, we don't get credit. If you follow the link and then you follow somebody else's link, come back to ours, follow our link. So if you have questions, you can ask us. Make sure that, and they will take my picture from my little circle with a little boyish guy that's got no beard, looks about 10 years old. That guy, that kid, they'll take that and then they'll say, it's Brian Phillips. And then they'll use like some emojis, because all the scam artists think you respond to emojis.
Brian never uses emojis, ever.
That's not totally true. Sometimes YouTube recommends an emoji and I'll throw it in there.
Oh, fine.
Like a thumbs up. But that's about the best emoji you're gonna get. But anyway, sometimes I use letters that look like emojis, but usually that's right before I block people. It's like an M, capital L, M. But anyway, getting back to the point, guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we want you to have the absolute best experience, the best planes, the best equipment, and also we don't want you to have to throw like thousands of dollars in the trash buying the wrong stuff. We've been there, we've done that. We don't necessarily want you guys to have to go through those same struggles. And by the way, we do fix stuff on this channel, even if it's not our fault, because a lot of times it's my fault. So stay tuned. So much more to come from Brian Phillips RC.